All right. Got the big old Mountain Dew tonight. We are running on backup energy, but we're going to caffeinate our way through this stream, and I think we're going to have a good time tonight. Excited to be here. Good to see all of you in the chat. I can't see all of you beautiful faces physically, but very happy to be here. I look forward to these very much. Truly enjoy these. So let's try and get some things kind of dialed in here, see how things are going here. Hope everyone's doing well. Hello. We'll start with some. I apologize. I may be a few minutes late, maybe a minute late. If you've noticed on the channel, we have next week's stream scheduled already, and I threw myself off and just about started the wrong stream. That would have kind of been embarrassing. So good to see all of you again. Let me get the chat rolling here. I need to move this. It's in the way. All right. All right. Let's make sure this gets rolling. Make sure we're working. Perfect. Hopefully the audio is working this time. I've been so paranoid about it. I'm double checking every time I come in here. So let's get some hellos going here. And I know we are later than normal. Usually I try and be between 7 and 7:15. Just by the time I get home from work, like I did today, kind of got in. I had to make a few stops on my way home, get some groceries for the family, and I wanted to spend a few minutes with my daughters. We ate dinner together. So apologize for being late. So if you catch the replay, greatly appreciate it. Hopefully it's still a fun replay for you nonetheless. And if you are catching the replay, I know it's not a true live chat, but always feel free to leave comments, questions, anything to be involved in the community, however you want to be. I promise that you will not be ignored. So, Trevor, hello. Skippity skeep skeep. I'm good. Thank you very much. Talking some football there. Not a big football guy, but I think maybe I see some names I recognize. We're gonna roll football there. Carrie Habercorn, hello. I am doing well tonight. I'm not gonna lie to everybody. I'm exhausted. I'm very tired, but I was not gonna miss tonight. I love these streams. My wife supports it. If you caught our random Christmas Eve live stream, it was a lot of fun. We went for like 2 hours making sugar cookies. Had the whole family there. Because your fish, Seth, how are you doing? Your puffers are looking absolutely gorgeous, my friend. Absolutely gorgeous. And I would love to coordinate another time in the future to come down, see those, film those. Your brother's Gordo, I want to say his name is, his fish room. There's still so many things we can do with all that. I would love to see that come true. But I'm very excited to watch your channel grow and the knowledge you share. I've been kind of lurking around, scooping up some of that knowledge. Don't get me wrong there. All right. Kind of a smaller crowd right now. That's okay. I say we're starting late. My apologies. All right, we got kind of housekeeping, I guess we should call it. Call it housekeeping. The waterfront. We now carry what is honestly what people call in Utah that we have a very large flower horn following club group in Utah. And this new Excalibur food is the #1 recommended food by them. The waterfront now carries it. So, Boba Fett is now getting a healthy diet of the Excalibur. What is this? The ultimate flower horn food. Premium ingredients, promotes vivid colors, increased head growth, defined pearls. So it's a good floating food. And this bag, we're selling it, I think it was like $18.99. So it's a half-pound bag of food. Ingredients are good. And honestly, I don't know, we can argue all night long what the ingredients truly are, if they're better than this and that. But it's from a group of people that focuses so heavily on flower horns. I snagged one off the shelf last night. I was like, Lewis, Peter, I'm taking this home. Boba Fett's going to get fed this for a couple weeks. And I want to so I got some good pictures of the beforehand. I want to get some good pictures of the after, and then do a full video breakdown showcasing if I really think this is something that I want to promote. Guppy Guru and Dreamfish SLC coming in. Hello, Peter and Lewis. How you guys doing tonight? So very excited to keep working with Boba Fett here. This flower horn is feisty, and I love it. I am so happy that we broke down the salt tank, got rid of that, and now have this guy here. So happy. I look forward to come in here now and just hang out with this fish. It was hilarious the other night. Jordan, she seen me feed him and how aggressive he gets, and she goes over there and lifts up the lid and goes, so if I put my finger, he came up and just rammed her finger. So it shocked her, didn't hurt her. But this dude is very, very food aggressive, and he's becoming more sociable with me, more interactive with me. And I am so excited about it. I'm just having so much fun with this flower horn. So yes, we now carry the Excalibur Foods. Very excited to showcase that and carry all that there too. Pride Moore's Fishing More. Hello, welcome. I don't know if I've seen you here. You may have been lurking, but good to see you. Thank you for supporting. Yeah, Seth, I would love to coordinate something. It would be, you got some awesome stuff going on there. So Trevor, yes, we had a 3-hour meeting last night. Carrie, I 100% agree with you. Flower horns do rule. After I saw Archie, I knew I was going to get a flower horn again. And now that I got Boba Fett, this guy's staying around. This guy's staying around. He's going to always be in whatever office we build or studio we do, like the next move. Boba Fett's going to be there, hands down. Excalibur is good feed that it's good feed that to mine. Cool. Pride more. So it sounds like you got some experience with some of the flower horns. But I'm sorry, Trevor. I was answering your question. I squirreled way off track there. So I'm so excited about flower horns right now. Yes. So we have big meeting last night. Me, Louis, Peter, discussing future of the waterfront, the shipping we want to do, and since they're here, they can kind of guide me in what we're talking about. I'm not going to give away everything, but one of the big things we talked about is we want to launch. When we launch shipping fish, we want to do it correctly. Offer it in a reasonable manner that it's successful, not only on a business standpoint, but it's successful that every customer has a good experience and receives their fish in good health. That's the number one thing we're focusing on there. So we want to launch a dry goods site first. And we're building that dry goods site. You can order things like Excalibur Foods. We're going to have that on the site. Extreme Foods. We're going to have that on the site. I know Peter's been working on some other companies. He's really, working that sales angle, get some new products with us. And so we want to coordinate all of this. Sponge filters, heaters, hang on the back filters. Something just popped. I don't like that sound. So it's building a collective site, launch it in a very professional manner. And part of this, so it's, if you want Excalibur Foods and you feel like that's a good food, like I'm a guy, I've never really used a specific food to a specific fish other than my Mabu Puffer is because that was a very specific diet requirement. But this time I've never really taken like a pellet food like this to specifically manufactured for flower horns. So I'm very excited to try this, showcase this. And after that, if you feel like it's a product you would like to try, you can then order it from the waterfront, get it shipped out to you, and have a great time with it. So part of that website that we want to do is we know we have a lot of customers, a lot of viewers, a lot of great supporters that want to support the waterfront, that we want to do almost like a boutique style fish shopping for a while, where we offer set fish for a set time frame. So think of it like we offer 2 flower horns, a batch of cories, a batch of rams, and that's it for 7 days. That group of fish for 7 days. So then what you can do is it's going to take, it may take 2-3 weeks for you to find the specific fish you're after, but it allows us to ship fish out starting slow, coordinating that, making sure we're handling it correctly, making sure the experience is good. Like to build, I'm going to quote the cheesiest. I'm very animated tonight. I'm tired, so I'm very animated. That sounds really weird, doesn't it? Rome wasn't built in a day. The waterfront isn't going to be built in a day. We got a lot of work ahead of us, but guys, it's going to be awesome what we're going to do from this. And one of the big things we focus on tonight too, and I want to emphasize here, yes, I'm an owner of the waterfront now, but I am very much so and will remain Wel-Don tanks. That is going to be one of the biggest things I want to focus on is this is going to be Wel-Don tanks. I know, Peter, I'm not giving away all our ideas. Don't worry. Just getting people excited for it. Getting people excited to see what we got coming up there. Because you want the community involved. This is involving the community. So things are starting there though. It's gonna be good to see, but it's gonna take time. But we've got so many, we've already got people excited in the chat to get flower horns. It would be awesome if we were able to provide said flower horns, and then it's, hey, you bought flower horn from us. Here's a bag of Excalibur Foods. Try this out. So it's ideas buzzing on our brains. A lot of things are building the shop. They're coming forward. It's going to be a good time. So I know that's one thing that everybody has been, expecting. Are we going to be shipping? Yes. We just want to make sure it's done correctly. But yeah, so the Excalibur foods will be available. They're available right now in store. So one more reason to make some road trips out to the waterfront. I'm just saying there. Science Gal Aquatics, hello. Thanks for being here. It's super cool. And well, granted, I appreciate all of you being here. But I see other names that I have watched for a while. I have followed for a while. They pop up in here. I appreciate it. Daryl Dimer, haven't seen you around in a while. It's good to see you back here. Really do appreciate you being here. So hello, everyone. What else we got going on? To the members, I owe you a video. I will try and get something out this week specifically for you. I have a few ideas in my head. I'm going to the waterfront tomorrow to film a new video. Then I got some other things I got to edit. So things will be coming out for the members. I appreciate you guys sticking with me on this. We've had some changes, some growth. It's going to be good, though. It's going to be amazing. If you caught our Christmas Eve live stream with the family where we were doing cookies, we talked, even my Jordan got involved in talking business and future plans and future fish room. And it's going to be amazing. I almost broke my phone. I smashed the like button so hard. I'm feeling the love over here. Skip. I appreciate it. Feeling the love. What else we got going on? Oh, that's right. All right. So I want to give a big thank you to Priscilla MK Art. So if you don't know who she is, amazing artist, very kind person. And it's just sounds great to me. I'm ordering my food online now. No one locally has stream. Yeah, so it's hard. I talked about this last night too, is that I've ordered 95% of my food online too, because it was never available what I wanted locally. So we want to cater to our local market, but we also want to cater to those that are buying online, but give them options. That makes sense. So Priscilla MK Art, awesome lady, right? So after, I think she popped in one of our streams, we made a purchase here. So she's very kind. She would not let me pay for shipping. Well, she refunded me shipping without me knowing it. But we purchased the leopard frog print, one of my all-time favorite Plecos. Will hands down guarantee you be in the fish room at some point in time. This is a Pleco I want to absolutely work with. But then when she surprised me, and she sent me out 3 additional prints that are all going to get hung up here in the studio. So my wife had an idea. We want to put another banner over here, we think, of the waterfront. And then on the other side of the office here, we're going to hang up all this artwork. And I'm still debating. I'm playing with like moving the camera around kind of a thing there. See there. So we have the I want to say it's like a black crown betta. Does that make sense? So beautiful pictures there. Amazing frontosia that so these are prints, but she did all the original artwork on these. And then the Arapaima, and this is one of my absolute favorites. This thing is beautiful. So yeah, check out, it's Swiss Aquatics, I think her website is. I meant to show these off a while ago, but I kind of forgot about them. It's just terrible of me. So very excited to get these hung up. Because it's going to be awesome to have some amazing artwork in here. Like when Jimmy used to do his Swisky prints, that's what those pictures are on the back. I saw some names coming in. Kristen Frost, good to see you again. I appreciate you being here. Have to buy most of my fish food online as well as my plants. Yeah, it's online shopping is kind of the thing now. Even though we're going to cater to the local sales, online shopping is here and it's here to stay. If anything else, that year's proven this. And then this one is super cool. So this is another art piece, and this is an original. This is 100% an original. So one of my officers for Christmas, very generous. She's a very talented artist. One of my officers did a specific piece of art for me for Christmas, and she surprised it with me on Christmas Day. So I had to work this past weekend, and at work she brought this into me nicely wrapped up and everything, and it was like I treat my officers like family. That's what we are. So check this out. I think it looks more of a guppy, but she said the inspiration came from guppy and betta fish and kind of morphed it into one. But check this out. Then let me show the camera there. Look at this thing. It's an original. Like, that is all her. Come on, camera. Or come on, user error. There we go. I hope if I can show this off. I think is absolutely amazing. So very, very excited to have that. All of these are going to get framed. We're going to hang them up in the studio. Yeah, for Christmas. So I was very, very grateful for that. Hopefully we're still alive. My internet is kind of skipped. We did upgrade our internet. So hopefully on your end, the quality's better. It's faster. We're not like buffering or anything, that kind of thing. That's one thing we did. We switched internet providers, and we actually now have the fiber optic internet to our house. So hopefully that's going there. I want one. Yeah, she's a very talented artist. I've seen some of the things she does. She's very good at like woodwork and different things. So it's very, very generous Christmas gift of her to me. I really appreciated it. So I know maybe we'll have to convince her to, I know she wanted to put it up on her Instagram post, and maybe I'll check with her, see if we can't, boost her Instagram kind of a thing there. But all right, 16 minutes in. So we've kind of got all the fun housekeeping things out of the way. I do have a topic tonight I want to chat with all of you about. The live, always Q&A, that's always there. But I have tonight's, I have a topic in my head, and then next week's stream, I've already got a topic set, so you can kind of go see what that is. And both of these are going to be something. These topics stem from things. Topics come from discussions that I've read in the some of the Facebook groups, and it's the major disclaimer to these particular tonight's stream and next week's stream is this is just 100% my opinion. There are facts that we could debate all night long. This is going to be my opinion on these things, and it's some semi-controversial, I don't want to say controversial topics, but I know what my opinions are going to be. Not everybody's going to agree with them. That's okay. I'm not here to necessarily change your mind. I'm just here to share with you my opinion, have a good time, have some great discussion, because the fact is I always learn something from all of you. There's always more to be learned. And if I can't, that's what we do live streams. I share, you share, we both walk away hopefully higher educated about our hobby and fish, all that. So as you see, I kind of took a joke with the thumbnail and all this, and it's nothing. I recognize things has been a very difficult year, and I'm not, saying it's any of that, but it's what are your water parameters? So I've been in the Facebook groups. I see things come up, and the internet now has become both an invaluable place of information, but it's also become the detriment to our hobby. Now, I'll get what I mean by that too, because I know a few months ago, I want to say we did a live stream where I kind of went off on a rant that the Facebook groups can actually destroy more hobbyist confidence than do good because of how people are accepted in those and treated, and just Boba Fett's going nuts over there for that Excalibur food. I dropped some pellets in before we went live, and he's over there jumping out of the water at him. But so it started off in the Facebook groups. You often see, and this is where it is an invaluable place of information, because you often see people post up pictures, videos saying something's wrong, right? So now we've just tapped into an unlimited source of people that have opinion, that have facts, have information to help this struggling individual with their hobby, with their fish, and in the end, hopefully help them correct whatever problem they're having, so we can keep that person in the hobby. They have a good time with it. They have a successful experience. It's a negative experience turned into a successful experience. So now they have more confidence to try the next thing. And a lot of this comes down to sick fish, algae blooms, green water, just blackbeard algae, whatever it's going to be. But I've noticed that the main one of this is kind of a sick fish area. And I think this stream I did first because it kind of leads into next week's stream, kind of. But it's people will post up of my fish is swimming weird. I just noticed it. Help. The number one comment without fail every time. What are your water parameters? That's it. It's always it. Is what are your water parameters? And then they kind of go off onto the, try a 60% water change and make sure you dechlorinate and feed peas. Okay, that's okay. But here's Trevor, here's what I agree with you is it's these Facebook groups are hard. Excuse me. Is when you leave a paragraph comment of detailed instructions of how to fix this issue because you've been through it before, it can sometimes be overlooked. But then you get people that just jump in there. What are your water parameters? What are your water parameters? You did something wrong. Chattanooga Ed, what's up, man? That's super cool to have you here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, but without fail, it's what are your water parameters? And that got me thinking here. The aquarium hobby, if you truly think about it, if you really break this down to how do you keep a fish tank? It's by, managing water parameters. You're managing ammonia, you're managing nitrite, you're managing nitrate, you're managing pH, you're managing you mean phosphate levels potentially. You're managing total dissolved waters in your, total dissolved solids in your waters. All these things that we're really realistically, we're just managing to keep it a healthy level for your fish to have a successful, life. Living in your aquarium, your tank, whatever that's going to be. But I will say, yes, bad water parameters can have a negative adverse effect on your fish. That's there. That definitely could be there. Speaking of Priscilla MK, hello. We were talking about your beautiful artwork and showing it off here, and giving you a massive thank you for the extra prints there, and that one of my officers actually did an original piece for me for Christmas, so it got me thinking about that. So good to see you here. I really appreciate it. Working while doing stuffs. Yeah. And all those who are lurking, I always appreciate you because that's me. I'm a big lurker. But anyway, so like bad water parameters, if you have excess, if you have ammonia in your water, like that's going to damage your fish. But it got me thinking of these, and it's going to be terrible because I'm not trying to call people out. I'm not trying to cause Facebook wars or anything of that. But we put out that the first comment is, what are your water parameters? Okay, if they come back to you and they say my pH is 7.5, I'm trying to think what is really kind of test like master test kit, API master test kit, maybe some Tetra test strips. I'm trying to think what people test around kind of some specific starting places. Let's say they have some test strips. Maybe kicks out pH, probably going to kick out ammonia, probably going to kick out nitrate. Very rarely do you see the nitrite unless you're into the API master test kit stuff. So you're most likely going to see that they're going to throw out. It's either the response of, my water parameters are perfect. Well, what are the numbers? So then they throw out, my pH is 7.5, my ammonia is 0, my nitrate is 0, and that's what I was thinking about. They just kind of list off these very generic numbers. Then starts the argument of, what do you mean? That betta fish can't be in 7.5 pH. You need that betta fish in 6.8 pH with black water, with tannins, with this. And it just got me thinking okay, water parameters matter, but hear me out on this one. Do we focus so heavily on water parameters that we forget to help educate these individuals of, are you just being nervous over your fish being weird? Boba Fett's over here chasing pellets. He's acting very erratically right now, but I've spent time with this fish, so I understand that. Now, when people are new into this hobby, sure, you get a living creature, you get a living fish. You want to do everything you can to make sure that fish survives and that fish has a good life, right? That's now your pet. So I get the emotional attachment, the financial attachment, but is it more harm than good when it's, what are your water parameters, right? Because oftentimes they don't even know. How do you answer what are your water parameters? Do they understand what you're even asking them in the first place? George Sanchez, good to see you. Thanks for joining the stream, and thanks for joining the chat. So I think, and I'm trying to wrap my brain about how I really want to get this across is, are there better ways to help educate newer hobbyists on how to A, test their water parameters, and then B, understand those water parameters? I mean, if you want full honesty from me, I don't think I have. I've tested one tank for water parameters in the fish room once. And that's when we were having the massive die off in one specific tank. So I was keeping track of that one, like the 90 gallon. I've tested it twice. The tank the flower horns in, I've never tested. I've actually never tested that. So that could be bad on me. But it's also, I understand how to manage those water parameters. I understand that fish do show signs of stress when things are out of whack, but that's come from time. When I first got into the hobby, BG Aqua, what's up, man? Good to see you. I first got into the hobby 5 years ago. It's 5 years ago. I first got into the hobby. I bought that. My wife gave me that fish tank for Christmas. I think like the next day, if not like the day of Christmas, we went to the local Petco, filled the tank up with water, and threw fish in there. And I didn't know what was going on when I saw fish kind of gasping at the top of the tank. I didn't understand a thing about water parameters. I did not understand that fish produce ammonia, and ammonia is harmful. I had no idea about that. I didn't know what pH meant. I didn't know what hardness meant. None of that made sense to me. So as I started kind of researching and getting into these Facebook groups to learn about these things, it kept coming up with, what are your water parameters? And I was so frustrated because I didn't know how to answer that. How do I tell you what I don't understand? So it's what I'm getting at here is, and I was talking with somebody, I think on the Christmas Eve live stream we did, that somebody made a comment that they spend upwards of like 45 minutes per week, per day, like testing their water. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's fun for people. That's a major part of the hobby for some people, so much so that on the reefing side, they have electronics that test that every minute, every hour. And I want to say George Farmer and somebody else kind of created something similar for freshwater sites. Like, it's so much fun for some people that they've made that part of their hobby. That's why we have test kits, right? So we can understand what our water parameters are. But now it leads into, it's the same. It's always the first response. What are your water parameters? But then it's the follow-up where they start now lecturing this individual of, you can't have said fish in 7.8 pH. There's no way that's possible. I mean, I blew somebody's mind when I told them that I have crystal red shrimp in my tap water right now. Are they actively breeding? Not necessarily. Now, this is another portion of what's your water parameters, right? Is sometimes I will admit, and I will even agree and tell that, yes, sometimes you need to adjust water parameters to assist fish in breeding. That's what's going to trigger them. That's what's going to make that happen. A good example is HC Aqua, Jesse in Hawaii with his black rams. He's having a hard time getting them to breed. He changed something up, lowered a certain water parameter. They bred for him. He had success with that. We have a gentleman that we buy discus from. He breeds all of his discus in tap water, and you would not believe. I mean, he'd say, these fish are show quality fish. I kid you not. But he uses RO water to hatch the eggs in because of the water parameters, right? He's trying to match something. But it's frustrating when I see these new hobbyists reaching out for help, trying to find any information they can, but the first response is, what are your water parameters? And I can see the frustration build when they don't know how to answer that. And then I also think too is these people, and I'm not saying everyone's wrong or bad or trying to be, most people try to help. It just comes off wrong. With the question of what are your water parameters, I've often wondered of when they answer back to you with said water parameters, how are you going to answer back to that? Like, are you just saying what are your water parameters because water changes fix all? Or do you actually have some guidance you're going to give here to where if they say, I have 0.25 ppm ammonia, are you going to now help educate them on how to help that ammonia process through the tank to ultimately, boost up your better water parameter kind of a thing? Or are you just asking what are your water parameters because that's the thing to do kind of a thing? Chattanooga, I agree with you. Jesse's an awesome guy. It's fun to watch. I am so jealous of the weather that he has access to. An outside fish room, that's awesome. And Taylor, good to see you. I know you've been a long-time supporter. You kind of lurked around, but I appreciate you being here too. That is super cool. You finally got to make it. Yeah, tonight was a later start time, so I appreciate all of you hanging out with me. 18 people watch this. That's awesome. So, and again, guys, this isn't me trying to bash on anybody or telling them they're wrong. It's just, it's so frustrating that we focus so hard on what are your water parameters. And this leads to another portion of this is the people that start now lecturing that you can't keep that fish in that said parameter. Now, there's some areas in this. If we look here in Utah, I'm very fortunate that my water comes out of my tap very hard. Now, what does hard mean? That's another thing. Like, what does hard water mean? And now that I've been working more on the waterfront in the shop, I am shocked, absolutely shocked, how many people have come in and said, yeah, we use an RO because our water's too hard. That's the quote I hear. Our water's too hard. And I started thinking, like, where did this come from? Because the only time I've ever used RO water was doing saltwater. I've never used actual RO water into a freshwater tank. But then again, I've never really specifically kept fish that needed that. Now, if I went after something like the betta macrostoma, sure, there may be a time where I do need to keep that fish at a much, much lower pH to maybe get them to breed or where they're collected from. But with this hard water, what is hard water? It's how much mineral, how much dissolved solids are in said water. Okay, now that mineral content can be transferred to a fish, and some fish need that mineral content to do well. Live bears love my water, and I've never had an issue with them not getting the minerals they need to keep their body healthy, to keep the babies healthy. Snails shells grow really well in my water because of the mineral content in there, where I know in other areas of the United States, the world, they have to supplement to get that mineral content to those specific fish. My buddy that lives 15 minutes from your shop just hooked up RO system. He's a big ram guy. That's cool. That's cool. You know somebody out here. That's super cool. And like that's part of it too. Is like I know it's what Jesse had to do. Aqua. He had to do something with lowering like the TDS and the pH to get the rams to breed. So there's absolutely some applications, but the overall, if we umbrella the aquarium hobby in my area, there's that rumor that's so often heard of: fish can't do this. You can't take fish from this and put them in this. And the best examples I have of this is, number one, when I bought my Maboo puffer, I bought it from Washington, drove 16 hours to Utah. Now I literally just went from very soft water, not a lot of mineral water, but with a higher pH content, similar to mine, maybe a little lower, to 7.8, if not almost 8 pH out of the tap, straight out of the tap, with a very high mineral content. And to be honest with you, I wasn't concerned about going plop. I put him right into a tank and got him rolling. He's doing great to this day. He's at the waterfront, hanging out, loving life, munching down snails, shrimp, all the shebang. But it blew people's minds that I did that. Now, drip acclimation is a great thing to do. Acclimating fish to your water is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all, because there's some water parameters that can affect your fish. Texas Fish Room, good evening. Thanks for being here. It's so shocking to me, though, that we hear because our water is so hard, that fish won't do well in our water. And people are afraid of that. The other one, my L199 Yellow Zebra Pleco group, ordered them from Freshwater Exotics. They are a wild-caught group. I know from where they came from, it has way more tannins in the water, probably softer pH because of all of that. We're talking, they came out of for the Amazon River area kind of a thing, right? I bring them over to me. We're now, again, very hard water, very high TDS, very large mineral content, high pH. I have now successfully bred those twice in my fish room, in my tap water. And again, it blew people's minds that I didn't have them in RO conditions. I didn't have them in leaf litter and all these different things. But a lot of what it is, my water parameters, and this is where it comes back into play, are good. They're where they need to be as the ammonia is being processed through the tank by the filter media we have. That's being processed through. Now we have no nitrate in the water. Now we have very little nitrate in the water. That what we do, we water change out. We now are keeping, clean water, so to say, so these fish can thrive. But it's difficult when somebody showcases a fish that maybe has bloats, they got a fin nipped off. It's, what are your water parameters? Instead of talking to them of, are you feeding too heavy? Do you have fish that are nipping that fin? Okay, now let me help you understand by keeping clean water, here's why we're going to do a 10% water change is we're hoping to keep good minerals in the water, take bad out of the water, give that fish a place to heal, where you don't feel good. You don't want to leave, Mike. You don't want to get out of bed. You want to stay in a safe place. But the number one question is always, what are your water parameters? We never explain why we're looking at these water parameters, what the purpose of these said water parameters are, and helping the individual with that question there. And I hope I'm making some sense. It makes sense in my head. But then again, I'm known to be a little eccentric on live streams and with my topics and my ideas I got going there. Mandy Boyd, hello. It's good to see you here. Sorry I'm late. I've just finished Steamfight Aquatic stream. How's everyone doing tonight? Well, thank you for coming over. I really do appreciate that. I'm good. I'm tired, very exhausted, but it's all right. Glad to be here. I really enjoy my Monday nights with all of you. Our water in Southeast Texas is hard. Live bears and cichlids do great. Shrimp not so much unless you get RO water. So I agree that there's fish that do better in said water. I'm very fortunate. Live bears and like cichlids do fantastic in my water, but it's the people that always say like angels. I'm gonna lose my train of thought now. Some betta fish, wild caught fish, some tetras, they're just not going to do well in our water, where it's not always the case. This is not always the case there. Like shrimp, like rainbow shrimp. I went and saw his place. Shrimp love our water because of the calcium content we can have coming through. And I can see that build up on like airline and filters and that and glass, even, calcium deposit, all of that. Unknowing Media Production. Hello. I don't know if I've seen that name pop up, and I appreciate it. It looks like you may have been maybe lurked. I may have missed it. Apologize. Either way, super cool to see you here. It's my third time catching the live stream, and I'm really enjoying the educational part of it and your funny personality you have. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely, I can be an acquired taste. That's 100% true. I can be an acquired taste. Between my Tourette's that I make funny noises with to some of my eccentric ideas, I can definitely be an acquired taste of some people. But I appreciate the support for being here. Look at all this Texans and our fish loving selves. There's a lot of people down in Texas. I know that's why we've joked about doing like the next road trip to Texas, that kind of a thing. There's a lot of good individuals down there that have a lot of good fish. So I hope I'm not too far off par with this, but it was interesting to see. The more and more I follow these Facebook groups and the more I really paid attention to it is anytime there's a problem, what are your water parameters? Okay, now but again, that can be a good starting point, but it's helping someone understand this. And this is actually how I one of the people I've seen showcase this the best over a long-term period of time is the channel called Fish of Hex. Now you think I'm an acquired taste. This dude's definitely an acquired taste, but he's very intelligent in what he does. He focuses primarily on reef tanks, growing coral, propagating coral, getting good coral at good prices in the hands of hobbyists and helping, support that. But again, even he talks about this, it's managing water parameters. So there we go again, right? We're talking water parameters. He was having an issue now in the reef world. There are some other water parameters that we tend to pay more attention to. He was having things show up in his tank. He was so it's visibly seeing things in his tank happen. He knew they were happening. So he started to address the problem. Now, instead of a shotgun approach of what are your water parameters, let's do a massive 100-gallon water change. Let's shut off the lights for 3 days. Let's stop feeding the fish for 5 days, but let's start feeding exclusively Excalibur foods. See what I did there? But it's instead of the shotgun approach of do this, and hope something works. And then when it does fix it, you have no idea what you did. He took the approach of every 1 to 2 weeks, he was going to try something new. He was going to basically change one thing, let it run its course. If it didn't fix it, change the other thing. If that didn't run its course, he'd change the next thing. And it was an amazing timeline of events that I put it together that he was very strategically managing his water parameters until he found the source of it, and it was producing some higher nutrients in his water. So let's adapt that over to the freshwater side. Em, it's good to see you. I really appreciate your support, my friend. Really do appreciate your support. It's been awesome to see all your comments coming through. Thank you very much for being here. So it's another common thing we're going to see is algae, right? People get live plants. My first attempt at live plants was a complete disaster, but over time, it's what I've learned. I've adapted, I've learned. So add live plants, they put a light on, they do their normal thing. They have their fish in the tank, the light's on, the fish look hungry, they throw food in. They throw food in. Okay, lights stay on. Fish eat what they want. The rest of the food kind of goes away, kind of decomposes. Now it's going to put nutrients into the water. So when you test that, right, if you test that on a test strip, let's say, if enough food gets in there and decomposes, you may detect some ammonia. If your beneficial bacteria can keep up with that, it may process it down to nitrate. So now we're still managing water parameters. But what people are going to come to the forum and say, I have a really bad algae bloom in my tank. Algae's everywhere. I'm so frustrated. I just want to tear it down. I want to give up. I want to start over. Number one question, what are your water parameters? What is that going to change? Because they could come back and say, my ammonia 0, my nitrite 0, but my nitrate is 20 parts per million, which in my opinion, again, this is all the disclaimer again, this is all my opinion. That's not bad water parameters, but we're only testing for that small little bit of water parameter. And now the individual could respond back to, oh, you need to do a 50% water change right away. Why? What are we fixing though? What are we fixing of this water parameter of maybe we need to dissect this a little further again. What's your lighting schedule that you have in your tank? Oh, I keep my light on 16 hours a day because I work 12 hours and I'm an hour drive each way. So I turn it off when I leave for work, and then I forget to turn it off before I go to bed. And so I think it's about like 16 hours a day. Okay. That's a lot of light pumping into a tank. Light feeds algae. All right. So there's our first kind of layer we've dissected to. Now we can start addressing the problem. Now we can suggest, now we can educate, now we can teach have you thought about getting a simple timer, putting your light on the timer? That way you don't have to worry about turning it on, turning it off. Now we've addressed step one, the first problem. Then we can start kind of looking into the water parameter side of thing. Like they say, what's your feeding schedule? Okay, well, I feed in the morning, then I come home for lunch and I feed again, and I come home from dinner and they just look hungry, so I feed again, and then before I go to bed, they're just little puppy dog eyes are up there at the water, and I throw more food in. Okay, that's a lot of food going in the tank. Like, this may shock some people. I try and feed twice a day in my fishing right now. Some days I fail miserably and feed once. It's just the time frame I have. That's what I can do. The time available to me to do that. So now we can dissect it a little further again and say, and educate. Okay, have you thought about not feeding as much? Do you notice there's excess food on the substrate? Do you notice your fish aren't eating all of it? Now we start educating that fish learn to interact with what they see out of the tank. Every time I walk by Boba Fett's tank, the first thing he does is race up to the glass, right up to where the feeding port is, and start begging for food. If you haven't seen the video I did on the top lids, we're still using that top lid on this tank, and there's that feeding port. So he knows right where to go. Let's see if I put my camera here. Maybe. Right here is the feeding port. He'll come right to this portion of the tank every time I step into the studio. Now, I could feed him every time I step in here, but I don't need to. I don't need to feed him every single time I come in. I feed once in the morning before I go to work. And because he is a larger fish burning a lot more calories, I feed again when I get home from work, right? But now we're limiting the amount of food going into the tank. Now, so we've now dissected it down to, we've looked at this water parameter area, but now we found out that the lights were on for 16 hours a day. We've cut that back to 6. We found out that you were feeding a pound 3 times a day. We've now cut this down to a tablespoon a day. Like, what I mean, and some of these numbers are just going to be exaggerated, of course, but it's showing the purpose of this. Of we've now started educating this individual of how to manage the water parameters, because, and they got lucky that their tank was cycled, so to say, where it's eating the ammonia to the nitrate. But now we've got to manage this. Now we got to understand kind of what's going on here, right? And so then in a couple weeks, they come back and say, guys, the algae's gone, it fixed. I understand that it's not coming back. Like, thank you so much. Another very common one I see is the bacterial blooms. Those happen all the time. How often do you see in a Facebook group, excuse me, somebody comes in and they leave a picture, and the statement is something along the lines of, so I just cleaned my tank last night. We took everything out of the tank. We rinsed it under the sink. We scrubbed down the decorations. We took the filter apart. We washed the filter. We replaced the filter cartridge and put it all back in the tank, filled it back with water, put the fish in. I came back the next morning and it looks milky. The whole tank's just cloudy and milky. Buddy of mine actually did that for a while. He texted me with a picture of a very cloudy, milky looking tank. And he's like, I don't know what's wrong. So instead of, I knew that if I asked him, what are your water parameters? He would be like, bro, I don't know. I'm just keeping fish, man. So I asked him. Now we started delving into, I said, okay, what's your maintenance schedule? He goes, well, what do you mean? Like I clean the tank every week. Okay, there, that. What do you do when you clean the tank? Oh, I scoop the fish out. I pull some water from the tank. I put them in a bucket with that water, but then I drain the tank all the way. I take all the gravel out. I take it over to the sink. I rinse it. I wipe the tank out. I take the filter over the sink. I rinse that, and I replace the cartridge that was in the filter. Now, for a lot of you, you're already on the track of, yep, that's a recipe for a bacterial bloom, and I know why. But to him, he had no idea that that was the cause, because in his mind, he's cleaning the tank, right? It should be healthy. Like, why is this looking this way? So it was explaining to him that even though the water parameters could be on point, it was explaining to him that you disrupted your beneficial bacteria by cleaning every single surface that they can live on. So in a last-ditch effort, in kind of layman terms, they just exploded themselves to try and reproduce as fast as they possibly could to catch up with the water parameters. But for a new hobbyist, when they post that and the first question they get is, what are your water parameters? Believe it or not, they may go dunk a test strip and come back and go, I don't know what's wrong, because the ammonia is showing 0. I have a little bit of nitrite and I have some nitrate, but the fish look fine. but there's not the understanding of it. But when we dissect it a little further, we now can help them understand, okay, do a 10% water change this week. Well, what's 10%? How big is your tank? Oh, it's a 20 gallon. Okay. Drain 5 gallons to a 5-gallon bucket, then refill that 5-gallon bucket, pour it back into the tank. Okay, I did that. Now what? Leave it alone. But it looks ugly. It will look ugly, but leave it alone. Let it run its course. So you wait a week. Okay, they text you again. Hey, I'm ready to, clean my tank. Okay. Again, drain that 5-gallon bucket. Do that same process again. Now they start to understand that beneficial bacteria lives in the gravel, it lives in the filter, it lives over here, it lives on this, and that's what's helping the water parameter. So it full circle kind of comes back around, and I say, I hope I'm not so far left field on this idea of mine, but it was interesting again to see every single problem brought up on a Facebook group being led down to what are your water parameters. I even saw the question of what are your water parameters on a post that clearly stated these two fish are aggressive with each other. I don't like it. Do I like basically asking, are these fish compatible? And it's what are your water parameters? And I kind of had like facepalm moment of like, that's nothing of what they even asked. We were looking at it in some cichlids. It wasn't even like it's what you need to say is like, I don't know. We need to say, no, they're not compatible. Like, let's do some line of sight blocks. Have you looked at this? Have you thought about this? But it's always, what are your water parameters? I'm sorry. Like, bad water parameters aren't going to make your fish be aggressive to each other. Good water parameters aren't going to make your fish be less aggressive to each other. I mean, I think if a fish doesn't feel good, it's not going to, it's going to defend itself kind of a thing. But it was so frustrating in an essence to see that it's just, what are your water parameters? We really don't kind of help people understand what they're actually asking. I've seen those comments before as well. Shows you that the poster's not reading the full question. And that's true. That's what happens on Facebook is, and I will say, there are so many good people out there that have really good intentions that want to help. But unfortunately, sometimes they get drowned. That's where the internet is such a, we're here right now with 19 people watching this, discussing water parameters in an attempt to help somebody better their hobby. We're using the internet for that purpose. We've had people connect that they're in Texas and this, and like have people that have bought snails from Lav. I've had Trevor ship me fish. I met Because Your Fish because of the internet. I know who Chaganuga is because of the internet. I've learned some things from the Science Gal Aquatics because of the internet. M's taught me so many things through messages because of the internet. It's like the internet's a very valuable tool, but it's also that detriment when the people that have the really good intentions get swallowed up and they get lost in all the comments of, I have power on the internet and I can just type whatever I want and we're there. I've given bad advice before. I know that there are people that watch my video. I get comments occasionally, not all the time, but occasionally that say, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a terrible fish keeper, all these kind of things. And okay, like that's your opinion of me. And it's when I go see and I see other people's tanks, I never try and judge and never try and criticize. It's why I haven't done it and I probably never will. And this is where I kind of know we're kind of veering off again. And this is my opinion. Don't hate me too much here. The number one video that I actually cringe at all the time are the videos they go, what is it? They rate my tanks, whatever they do that. Like if somebody comes to me and says, yeah, Texas fisherman is a double-edged sword. Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's unfortunate. And I know it swings both ways of really positive and really negative. But these tanks videos, what gives me the right to criticize people on their tank? Now, flip side of the coin there. I've done videos showcasing how to set up a new tank. I've done videos showcasing how to set up a Mabu puffer tank, how to do a Pleco tank, how to do a guppy tank. Right? There's rice fish tanks. Like I've done that, but I'm sharing experiences that have worked for me. And it's so hard when you get these quick snippets of like, oh, you've got a Jack Dempsey, an Oscar, a blood parrot, guppies, shrimp, Asian arowana, and a red tail catfish shoehorned into a 30-gallon aquarium. Do I now now that's another area where it's like, do I criticize them or do I teach them? And that's why I don't mind it when people reach out to me and ask some questions. Let's have some conversations of, do you think swordtails will go with turtles? Do you think these endlers will be okay with this? I know like Savannah, when she got the endlers, there was a lot of conversation. When Savannah got the endlers, there was a lot of conversation about, will they be okay with this fish, in my opinion, in my experience? And it's my Egyptian mouth brooders that I've sold to some people, through our fish collective. There's some questions of, hey, do you think these will be okay with guppies? Do you think these will be okay with this? And it's so hard. Those videos I cringe at so bad, because as a person that has decided to come on YouTube to share my experiences, I have no right to criticize anybody on what they do. I really don't. If you don't like my videos, you don't watch it. If I don't like other videos, I don't watch it, right? We gravitate to people that make us feel confident, that we feel are giving us good information. And when we try it and it works, we go, oh my gosh, it worked. Like, I'm going to keep following this person's advice. A prime example of that, I know we kind of veered away here, but my prime example, that is my Carbensis in the fish room. I had albino Carbensis. If you go back a ways, I had some albino Carbensis. The females always fired up, like always ready to breed. And I had 5 coconut huts in there, and I thought that I was doing it right. But then I watched Aquarium Co-op's video on how to breed Carbensis. Never even occurred to me that some fish like substrate to spawn in, that the female would cover the cave entrance with the substrate to keep the male out. And once I changed that, we got our first spawn. It wasn't successful, but we got the first spawn. Then we got our second spawn, and we made it all the way to wigglers with that spawn before they ate them. Now I think we're on the third spawn. I kind of got to rummage around that tank a little bit, but we can squirrel this back to water parameters of, when we teach somebody how to manage it, they're going to have long-term success. When we ridicule somebody because of how they managed it without understanding their level of understanding to that part of the hobby, we've destroyed their confidence. Trevor says, thank God I don't have Facebook anymore. My wife belongs to these groups and reads me these types of posts. It's painful. Yeah, I've left a lot of them because it is frustrating. It is frustrating to read that, but like Texas Fisherman said, though, it's a double-edged sword, because when I first started the hobby 5 years ago, put all those fish in that tank, they all died. I wanted to know why. And fortunately for me, I was able to pick up a smartphone, go to Google, type in something. I think I even typed in something to the effect of, all my fish died day one. And it led me down this rabbit hole of, like, okay, I get it. Keep the water clean. Okay. I get that. How do I keep the water clean? Okay, interesting. What you're telling me is this filter cartridge, it works, but when I throw it away, I'm throwing away beneficial bacteria, which in turn is helping my water parameters. Interesting. Okay, what can I use to replace that? Oh, okay. I found some ceramic media. I found some bio balls. Makes sense. Okay. Now, it has led down. It led more and more to where we are now, happily discussing 5 years later that Facebook groups are a double-edged sword. In my opinion, keeping your water parameters consistent with consistent maintenance is key. But you're right. Like that's so. Every time somebody comes to me, they say, "I want a fish tank. Will you help me set it up?" Absolutely. That's super fun, getting people in the hobby and then helping them set that up. But on the maintenance side of things, They always say to me like, well, I don't, how much am I going to have to clean this thing? I hear that I can put like plants in there. Like there's filters that do all the work for you. There's some truth to that, right? We've seen that if you have enough live plants, yes, you can get away without water changes for a long time. But how do you explain that to someone that's just starting? So I would start with questions like, what fish do you want to keep? What size tank do you want to keep? And then we kind of build around there. It's like, well, I want a lot of color in small fish. Okay, have you looked at endlers? You looked at guppies? Yeah, those are cool. Okay, have you looked at like a 20-gallon tank? Well, how big is that? Roughly this big. Oh, that's awesome. But like my buddy had like this massive tank, and I want to get to that one day. Cool. Okay, let's start here. Are you comfortable draining out 5 gallons of water to a 5-gallon bucket and then refilling it? Yeah, that's something I can handle. Now we've set it up to a small starting point where they learn how to manage those water parameters. So M says, and in a way, the same thing goes for those giving information. Don't just give them the answer, lead them to the answer and explain why the problem occurred. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Yeah, it's like, Trevor, I agree with you. That's very well said. It's very well said. You answer, what are your water parameters? Like it's a leading question that can lead to so much good, to helping somebody understand, but it's so often used as like a derogatory comment. It frustrates me. My plants love water changes. They pearl after I do a water change. I see a lot of that. I used to see a lot of that, and it's an interesting concept too. It's really cool. The first time I saw a plant pearling was so exciting to me because I'd seen it done, but I only thought that plants could pearl with a CO2 setup, and then until I saw an Anubias pearling after a water change, no CO2, I was so excited to see that. So it's, but Chattanooga Ed, you've been doing this for a while. You've had that you have that experience. You've personally seen that happen. So you have an understanding, and you do a great job with Fish Food and Fever, even on your own channel and everything. You do a fantastic job at helping other hobbyists understand those process there. HD Aquatics and DJ Mitchell, hello, thanks for joining. So DJ, so what is pearling? So pearling, and I'm going to see if I can explain this right. Maybe somebody can explain it better than me. Is we know that plants, they take in CO2, they release oxygen, right? That's how it works. The forest, all that. They suck in CO2, release oxygen, which we can breathe. Same concept underwater. But when it's underwater, you actually get to see a bubble form and rise to the surface. But instead of like a sponge filter, an air stone where it says bubbles, it literally looks like you took a pearl necklace and just draped it off the plant, but it's all clear bubbles. And it's these little clear oxygen bubbles that lead up to the surface, and it's like perfectly straight line off of the plant. And it is one of the most beautiful phenomenons you can see in an aquarium, in my opinion. Because when you see it happening, I just think to myself that it's like, oh, the plants are happy. The plants are happy. They're just doing their thing, super happy. We got a few people coming in. MT Aquatics, good to see you. Really appreciate you being here. Do the do. That's right. Skip. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm very tired. It was a long weekend. A lot of things going on in the day job area, and got home tonight. I was like, yep, I need something for the live stream. Got to keep myself, chugging along on this one. I've seen that in other people's videos. Yeah, it's a really cool thing to see. And it's not just based off, a lot of times you'll see it in a very heavily planted tank with CO2 because we're actively pumping in CO2 for the plant to suck in, release that oxygen. So there's that, excess of it to allow that. But when it just happens, it's a phenomenon that's super cool to see happen. Pearling when there is so much oxygen dissolved in the water column that the oxygen that the plants produce can't possibly dissolve, thus has to come out as a bubble instead. And that's it. Yeah. So see, M has a great way of explaining things. So when you hear it come out of my eccentric mouth, just go back to M and like Chagaduga Ed that can explain it in a way that anybody can understand. That's what I want. That's what I hope to do with these live streams and these topics and these ideas is I want somebody to stumble across this and go, you know what? I've been asked what are my water parameters in every Facebook group I'm in, and it led me to just about get out of the hobby. But now I'm going to try a little harder at my hobby, a little harder to understand what my water parameters are and how they do affect my fish and turn this into a successful hobby. That's what I seek to do with these things. That's what I really do seek to do with these. And don't worry, next week too, when we get on that topic, that rant comes from Facebook groups too. That's going to be a fun one. All right. What do we got? Oh, did I miss anything? So yeah, we can 26 people now. Wow, that's awesome. That's super cool to see you all over here. Maybe we can go for a few more minutes. So that's my my long drawn out thought process on water parameters. So questions right now, if you want to do like a general Q&A, we can. If you just want to chat, hang out, we can do that. If you got questions or anything I talked about, I'm kind of catching up. And if those of you just coming in, if you want to catch the replay, feel free to do so. We focused a lot on the water parameter side of things and why I think it's often a negative connotation to people instead of a positive question there. I'm just simple-minded. Ed, you're a smart man. It's the simplicity that's a valuable skill to have when explaining this hobby to people. It's a good thing because now that I'm like super nerd level, I love diving into some things too, where it is that interesting, like very scientific, very specific way. But the simple way is good. Don't get me wrong, simple is good. Another reason for pearling after water changes sometimes is when you drain the water. Sometimes leaves get microfractures in them, and the gases stored in the leaves have a way to escape. Yeah, see, like there's crazy scientific stuff there. Mandy Boyd, everyone hit that like button, please. Thank you, Mandy. I appreciate the support there. I really do. All of you have made this very fun to do, very fun to continue to create content under the Wel-Don Tanks name. Very excited for what we got coming this year. And even though it's going to get bigger and better, it's still going to be Wel-Don Tanks. I know last week we talked all about the new waterfront raised breeding program and that, but I still want to emphasize that there's the waterfront, but there's also Wel-Don Tanks, and I will still continue to be Wel-Don Tanks. That's never going anywhere. All right. Maybe give it a few more minutes here to kind of see what rolls in off the chat. We are closing on that hour and 10-minute mark. It's rare for me to kind of get that far some nights. How's the waterfront? The waterfront is fantastic. Waterfront is amazing. I'm going there tomorrow to set up a new tank for the Mabu Puffer. So that'll be sweet. Plan on making a video out of that, kind of showcasing what our thoughts are there. We had a meeting last night to discuss some website ideas, some shipping ideas, but overall, we've actually been seeing a good uptick of customers come in, and we're like Saturdays we're super busy. But I like to see that the waterfront is becoming a positive place for people to come for their hobby. It's not just another local fish store. It's becoming it's becoming like a positive hangout spot, if I dare call it that, of come chat fish, come obviously buy fish, right? We're there to make money. It's a business, you know what I mean? But it's watching customers interact with each other is a lot of fun. And then I still get the very much excitement of when I send somebody home with that fish that they've been wanting, that excitement. Oh, best feeling in the world. Like one of the best things that happened was their mom, 2 kids come in shopping for son to get some fish, and the daughter, I thought she had full mom's permission, asked me for some plants. We got her plants, rang her up, later found out that she like snuck those into the order to get them for her betta tank. But it was like the cutest thing. But to see how excited she was to take home this plant and, play with it in her betta tank was just awesome. It was so cool. So, yeah, HD Aquatics, the waterfront is going very well. It's a slow and steady race. It's not a sprint on this one, but it's going to be awesome. Kristen Frost, that's both sad, but like also thank you. It's a big compliment, and I hope to continue that. So she says, I wish I wasn't on the other side of the country. My local fish store isn't run by friendly people. And that's too bad. That's unfortunate because this is such a positive hobby. It really is such a positive hobby. And maybe, I mean, everybody's got a story, right? Everybody's got a story. And I can definitely tell you that with the support from my wife, like, quick example. The other day, I came home from work. I was very mentally and physically just exhausted. And I tried to so she encouraged me, and I needed to do water changes on these tanks up here. She encouraged me. She's like, let's just like go do your water changes and go de-stress. And the hour and a half I was up here was shocking to go from this exhausted state to I'm still exhausted, but I'm at peace. So that's unfortunate because this is definitely like a very, very positive thing there. Let's see here. HD Aquatics, and what time is it in Salt Lake City? We are rolling up on 8:42, so almost 8:45 at night right now. So that's why it's the rush to get the stream started. That's why the streams are typically around between 7. I'm going to say start anywhere from 7 to 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time is the days that I work and then stream. I'm off work at 6, rush home, grab a shower, kiss the kid, kiss the wife, get up here and stream. Still convincing the wife for a long weekend road trip to Utah. I think I'm winning. Well, I would love it. Like seriously, the wife has offered our cheese. Come on, Trent. The spare bedroom. Man, that was difficult to get out. But now everybody's going to be like, Trent's got a spare bedroom road trip. We can pitch tents. I guarantee you we can fit at least one cot in the fish room. I mean, then we can like line cots in here. We can make this happen. In the morning, I'm making waffles. You better believe it. I mean, it would be a long road trip. But if it happens, I hope it happens. Definitely give us a heads up, though, Trevor. We would love to send you home with some amazing fish. It's 10:43 here. That means you got to be East Coast. I'm going to guess you're East Coast because I was in Michigan for a while, and they're 2 hours ahead. So you must be kind of somewhere in that, what do they call it, the Midwest? So I see Trevor and Chattanooga Egg, you're talking about is the Aquatic Fest. That's something I would love to eventually do. And I think even as like the waterfront we would like to do, because it's hard as I really do want to go to one of these shows and go experience that. I do. But it's hard is I want to go as Wel-Don tanks, but I also want to go as the waterfront. Like I want to go and showcase my business, but I also want to go as like the solo runaround guy of Wel-Don tanks and have that experience too. So that's definitely hard there. Just the kids in the car are gonna be fun. Yes, that is true. That is definitely true. That's a very fair point. Very fair point. Oh, I'm way off. Wait, geez. This goes to show how tired I'm sorry, HD Aquatics. I know the bell rung a long time ago, but now it just caught up to me. I knew that. Of course, you're up in Ontario. All right. Yeah. Never. Yeah. Thank you for the shout out on your channel. It was very kind of you. It was very kind of you. Geez. Ignore my ramblings right now. There's probably more caffeine than actual blood in my body right now because I'm sucking down more Mountain Dew. If you guys have not checked out HG Aquatics, I highly recommend that you check him out. He's got some passion for this hobby. He's doing some good things with this, and he's putting forth an effort on his own YouTube channel to showcase that. So definitely go check him out. I can support that. I definitely can support you checking out HG Aquatics. Are we there yet? We drove straight to Gatlinburg, November, 16 hours, about as far as I can push them. That's a long drive. That's a long drive because we did the 16 one way to Washington, and that's just a long drive. When me and Lewis drove to Reno and back, and that day, that was a long drive. I mean, it was like 7 hours out there or something. Like, yeah, that was so I get it. I definitely do get it. Super good person. He is a super good person, Peter. I definitely agree with you. Definitely agree with you. Misfit Reptiles and Aquatics. Hello. Good to see you here. We're kind of winding down, but always good to see the friendly faces coming in. Really appreciate it. Kristen, you said you're on the Gulf Coast of Florida, 10:43. Yeah, it's easy. You can tell I don't know my time zones the best, but then you put more caffeine than blood in my body, and it just goes weird. But all right, everybody. It's been a good night. It's been a good stream again for me. Almost for you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. These are fun. I really do enjoy this. I really, really do look forward to hanging out with all of you, talking fish, talking water parameters, right? Having these discussions. It makes me want to keep going and keep doing better for you guys. I know there's that. Yes, I was exhausted. Yeah, it's a long drive. So we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna go say hi. I'm putting the kid to bed. I'm off work tomorrow. So it means I'm gonna go play at the waterfront, play some fish. Have a good day. But guys, all of you have a good night. Stay safe where you are. Enjoy your tanks. Just have fun with what you're doing. And if that's what I can leave you with tonight after my eccentric water parameter discussion is enjoy your tanks for you. They are your tanks. They're your area to enjoy. So take care of all that. Everybody who's been lurking, thank you so much. Everyone who catches replay, I appreciate you. So new video will be out Friday. Got to edit some up this week. We're going to film some new things this week. So make sure to subscribe for the future content all about Boba Fett over here in our Excalibur Flowerhorn food. And we will definitely get some good things rolling here. So thank you, everybody. I love you all. Keep your tanks well done. We'll see you in the next one.